Hey, hey, hey. Talking it through with Stephen Crystal. Another week has passed. And life just keeps rolling on along, doesn't it, Steve?
Sure does. Sure does.
Sure does. Rolling on along. All right. Well, we are here today to talk about when someone else makes you the villain in their story. And I thought about this a long time ago because of, I'll use the high control church we came out of, what the overseers have done to Cynthia Lyles. That for me is the best example of someone else making you a villain in their story where they know that they're culpable, they know what they're doing, and they're doing it anyway and don't care. So that's what we're going to talk about is like, what if you're actually not the problem? Why does this happen? And what we can do about it. So I'm going to let you go first.
Well, I was just going to say every story needs a villain.
Yes.
Everyone does, and who wants to make themselves a villain in the story? I don't. Typically none of us want to. So yeah,
No.
that's what we're seeing the overseers do is they know the truth. They know what's going on,
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
a lot easier to deflect and create a villain that they can point to, and of course they have plenty of people that are going to believe exactly what they say. So
Yep.
we live inside stories. We don't really experience life as a isolated series of isolated events.
Yeah.
We we just connect stories that help us understand ourselves and the world around us. But the
Yes.
stories we tell ourselves end up becoming the lens that we see life through.
Yep.
We
We had
interpret new experiences.
Exactly. So we have been talking a lot about things leading up to this discussion about how our minds work and how they like negativity and how they like the but at the end of the day, one of the other big things is how much we desperately need connection. And
Yeah.
so that really does play in, I think. I'm going to say hi to a couple of people really quick. Hi, Mardell. Hi, Rhonda. Who else is out there? I cannot see who is out there. So give us some love if you would, so we know who's here. Okay. So let's talk about whether or not it's intentional. Is it usually?
Most of the time, no. In the case of these overseers, I'm not going to
They're in
say
a
it's not
category of
intentional,
their own.
but for the most part, it isn't because we just have our lens we look through, and
Right.
it's really interesting that when I think about perspective isn't always the same as truth.
Right.
And our own perspective is where we live.
Yes.
So, yeah, two people can walk away from a conversation with two totally different understandings. But that doesn't make one person dishonest, doesn't make one person wrong, doesn't make another person right. It's it's good to learn it's simply perspective most of the time.
Yes. So speaking of that, I watched a show yesterday. Cynthia sent it to me and said, "Hey, have you seen this?" I'm just going to tell you what it was. It's called Behind the Rage, and it's about domestic violence. But the interviewer, fascinating show, the interviewer literally said out of 51 interviews, one person owned what they did to the other person. In some cases, murdered them. The other 50 still are saying that the person that they beat, that it was, they're the villain. They're the one
Mm-hmm.
that made them do it. And the people that they interviewed in the what the classes that they domestic violence abusers have to go through to get rehabilitated, quote unquote, and how they were talking about how people say the right things just to get through the classes and do all that, but they don't actually own it. It was fascinating, Steve,
Yeah.
especially getting ready for the show. How many people just, even in the face of great harm, and they were talking about the statistics of multiple offenders in that case, and I'm here to tell you, it is such a trauma. At the end of the day, what she really focused on is how much trauma drives that kind of behavior. Because what we're really looking for is connection. What we really want is attention. What we really are after is love, is to be loved and not
Mm-hmm.
abandoned. And
Yeah,
so,
we want to be seen, we want to be heard.
yes,
And unfortunately, a lot of times we'll take very negative experience of that just to feel it.
yes, yes.
We're
So
willing to be the villain sometimes in somebody's story.
Yes, and sometimes it's okay to just accept that that's how it is, and that's that you are the villain, and that's fine. Take it, move on with your life, let them have it. Other times, we need some public relations around it.
Yeah.
Other times, it needs to be directed. So it really does depend a lot on the situation. But one of the things I wanted to talk about specifically in this group that we're referring to, high control churches, is the group think that goes along with the villain thing. And that's where so many misunderstandings turn someone into the bad guy, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, right off the bat, we hear the word bitter all the
Right,
time. Well, that's just a way of making people a villain.
right,
So the overseers are they're not going to talk about, well, our theology didn't make sense to them, so they left, or they had disagreements the way in our conversation. No, that conversation is never going to be had inside the group. It's
right,
going to be, well, they're bitter, so they left, and
right,
often they've been pushed out, but they still left because they're bitter. So you create the narrative, you create the villain, and everybody that is really tied into that group will just automatically believe what the leaders say. And this
right.
goes for any high control religion, any high control group. It doesn't even need to be a religion.
Right. Well, I was thinking about the show that I watched again yesterday. And here's the other thing, it goes down to, so many times we're looking for who's right and who's wrong. And at the end of the day, those dynamics don't even really matter. That's what we're trying to put blame on, is who's right and who's wrong. But what we're both really seeking at the end of the day is love and connection.
Yes, to be understood, to be heard.
Yes,
Yeah.
to be heard.
Yeah, and in the case of the high control and people that have left and people that haven't, yeah, we want to make it right and wrong, us and them, but it's really not. It's really about understanding each other's perspective. Goes a
Yes.
long way towards healing the gaps that are created by those that have left.
Yes. I had a long conversation last night with Pam Walton. You know her well. About the situation in Pawleys Island that's going on in that church, and why, and really just trying to figure out for us why so many people who know better and know the truth about the situation, know the truth about what's happened in their family or whatever it is, and they cannot and will not come forward.
Yeah, and when I work with emotional abuse, in that kind of situation, often the abuser is really not even aware that they're doing it. It's just how they try to love their partner.
Yeah.
And the partner often wants to resolution when they leave. They want to be heard. They want to be understood, and that's not going to happen because the perspective is so different. And in this case, I sometimes wonder if these overseers, I mean, they almost have to believe their own story.
Right.
There's a point where you live in your story and your perception, your belief that it is your truth and you are right. And that's a really difficult beast, so to speak, to change. And you have to, when you walk away, just let them have their story, because whether it's in a personal relationship or in a group like this, you're not going to change their
Right.
perception and their story.
Exactly. And so that begs the whole that another question, because this same dynamic that we're talking about at this level is true in families often, um, where there's groupthink in a family, or somebody is just absolutely determined that they're right and they believed their story for so long, or it's been told by so many people that of course it's true, but it's not. And
Yeah.
so then what do you do? I mean, it's just it's so damaging. And really, at the end of the day, it goes back to everything we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the show I watched last night. Literally, a guy was over his wife, choking her and screaming and crying about how much he loved her, and literally crying. She said, I could feel his tears falling on my face as he was choking me. And it's so fascinating how our minds work and why we do what we do.
Hmm.
When we start to become aware and we really start to understand that in that particular case of what they were talking about, he was so afraid she was going to leave him
Sure.
and abandon him that that was his only way to control her. And that is so what's happening in this church.
Yeah.
They're so afraid that their children are going to leave or their spouse is going to leave the religion, and then they're going to be left there alone because they know it's not right, but they don't know how to leave it and don't know what to do. So it creates this horrific dynamic of us versus them.
It really does, and it's important to see too that, like you're talking about physical domestic violence, it
Mm-hmm.
happens exactly the same with emotional abuse. It's
100%.
words instead of physical, but
100%.
those words are used, and that's what we see in the high control religions. Is
Yes.
the words are used as a weapon instead of fists or hands or whatever is chosen. But
Yes.
yeah, you're right. Most of those people have a deep love for their partner or their or group or their people. They don't
Mhm.
have any clue of how to healthily show that, and it's
Exactly.
coming out in the only way they can. um, I've really tried to understand what's behind that story, what's behind that person that's making me
Yeah.
the villain, you the villain, the people that left the villain, whatever the situation is.
Yep.
What is their, what is the group story? What is the family story often? What is behind that that creates them a family taking it out on the one person that's different, that left the typical family dynamic? Because that's just as common as a high control religion situation.
Absolutely. And 9 times out of 10, it goes back to what we have talked about before. In situations like this, we didn't learn communication skills. We didn't learn interpersonal relation. We didn't learn how to have uh, conflict resolution. We didn't learn any of these tools. And that's partly why you and I are doing the show weekly now,
Yeah,
because it's to provide tools and to help people understand there are other ways of doing things. There's other ways of thinking through things. There's other ways to do conflict resolution. There's other ways to make people feel heard, to mediate situations before they escalate. There's a lot of tips and tricks that we can
yeah,
do. So let's talk about some of that, because I think that you just nailed it. You went straight to the root of it, Steve. Understanding that the other person has their own fear, their own pain, their own insecurity, their own experiences coming into this situation. And when you can stop and put yourself into that situation and be compassionate for a minute, uh, that doesn't mean that you take it. I'm not saying
correct.
own it and take it. I'm
Or,
saying
or even agree with them with
exactly.
understanding and compassion for where they're coming from. Doesn't
Yes,
excuse their behavior.
right.
Behavior is still behavior, but there's usually a person underneath that that's a really good person.
Yes.
Even in some of these overseers we see, there's probably, I can't say, but there's probably a good person underneath there. We
Yeah,
just don't see that at all in their
right.
behavior. So a lot of times it's important to separate the behavior from the person.
Yes. Yes. Uh, because the other thing is, we all have feelings. Emotions tend to drive our behavior. Values are really what drive our behavior. So, I talk a lot about values, that if you are avoiding something, that you actually value predictability, um, which is sounds ironic, but it's true. The reason that you're upset is because you think it's important, even though you're procrastinating or somebody else is procrastinating. So the value is what's really driving the behavior there. So we grew up with these programmed values that are putting in us into such a narrow lane of understanding and a narrow view of anybody outside of ourselves, and that's called survival. Many of us grew up in such traumatic, whether it was, not even if we weren't a victim of CSA, but there's so much spiritual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse in families, so much conditional love, that we have a survival mentality without even realizing that that's how we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that narrow viewpoint, that narrow set of values shapes everything you think, say, or do. You're told. And,
Yes.
along with not having communication and emotional intelligence that's not wanted, it really goes along with school. Higher
Yes.
education is downplayed and poo-pooed pretty hard. So is therapy. Any of
Yeah.
these things that might pull you away, pull you towards the world, so to speak, they're all poo-pooed and talked down simply because they create a little bit more critical thinking. And
Mhm.
once you start critical thinking, you might ask a question. Once you
Yes.
ask a question, things change. And I see this in emotionally abusive relationships too, where
Yes.
people will have to protect their their place, their abuser, to be
Yes.
able to keep their own sanity in the situation. They
Mhm.
can't look at it, they can't talk about it, and that's what we see as the entire group, the high control group, is nobody can really look at what's going on or ask any questions. Because the moment you do, whether it's coming out of a group or a relationship, the first time you ask a question about anything, it's over. You have to do something about it. It may take months or years, but that first question, that first thought, that first how come starts cracking down the walls that have been built around you. And I've seen it in personal relationships. I've seen it in groups like this. One question is all it takes. And every time I hear one, I'm like, it's that's the question. Pretty soon they'll believe me. And invariably it happens. But when you're in it, you don't dare do that, because
Yes.
once you do question, then you got to start looking at more and more and more, and you got to examine everything. You can't help it. Your brain will not let you not do it. So the only
Yes.
safe there anything there is to do is just shut it down.
Well, you just nailed it. That's what I wanted to say today. This show that I watched again yesterday, it really proved the point on, and I am a victim of domestic violence myself. Never dreamt in a million years I would be in a situation like that, but I was, partly because of the whole seed of self worth, even though I covered that very well with this whole bravado thing I had going on over here. But down deep, I didn't really believe it. Well, I sure do now, but I didn't for a while. And in that window of time, but you just said it, they protect their abuser. And the reasoning behind that is that if they stop protecting them, they would have to do something about it. And that is exactly Cynthia and I whole dialogue around. That's why these people continue to protect them. I've been trying to figure this out. Why do they keep protecting them? Why, even when they know, they still cover for them?
Yeah,
Why?
and to put that in a context of like a relationship, often
Yes.
it's a woman that is in a domestic violence, emotionally abusive situation. They protect their abuser because leaving means loss of security, loss of
Yes.
income, maybe family turning against them. It's
Yep.
such a overwhelming sense of loss, and also by that time, they've often lost their capacity to make decisions, to function. So
Yes.
to be able to look at it means you have to be able to take those next steps, find the support, find the finances, find the everything it takes to leave a bad relationship. And it's really, really difficult. I know of somebody that knew they needed to for 5 years, but just couldn't look at it
Right.
until it finally got bad enough, and then it worked out fine.
Yeah.
But that's what people in high control do too. Leaving means loss of family, loss of community. For some, it means maybe they're going to hell if they leave.
Yeah.
There's just this tremendous loss with zero resources, zero capability feeling. So yeah, they're going to protect their abuser.
Yep.
It's
So
safety.
9 times out of 10, what we're talking about here on the person making you the villain is their own feelings becoming their facts, misunderstanding the boundaries that you are laying down or have laid down, or they don't have the communication skills that you do or the ability. So it's a trap. But there's a huge trap of trying to prove that you are not the villain. And that I just want to clarify that it's a trap, people.
Yeah.
There's a hook there.
Yeah, like a group or a partner may want to make you the villain, but it's up
Yes,
to you to accept it or not. And when
exactly.
you're creating separation, I often teach the first thing you need to know is no is a complete sentence. So
Absolutely.
is no thank you. And
Yes.
and I've seen a lot of people trying to explain to their family that are still in high control, why they left or why the family should leave. And the family's coming at them with all their, coming at them for anything.
Right.
The best answers is no thank you.
Yes.
Really polite, really short, unemotional, whether it's by text, phone, in person. Just when you don't give that person, that group, any power over you, you will create the boundary that helps them stabilize as well too, because now
Yes.
they have to self soothe, self stabilize in their
Self-regulate.
story.
Yep. Yep.
But that's how you stop becoming the villain.
Yes. Otherwise, you're stuck in their narrative. So
Yes.
that's the thing. So when I start working with somebody, I literally start with, okay, let's just talk about you. And nine times out of 10, they're like, no, I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk about them. And I'm like, okay, but this is what you need to understand first. We got to understand you. You got to understand you. You've got to know why your insecurity is allowing them to keep you stuck in their narrative. No, but I'm here to talk about them. Yep, but I'm here to talk about you. And
Yeah.
they get so frustrated with me in that first session because they are like, Crystal, this is not why I came to talk to you. And I say, well, let me just explain this to you one way. Until you get the confidence to understand that you have the ability and the authority to say no, and to stop feeding that narrative and trying to convince them and exhausting yourself in the process, then yeah, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, the valid side is it's a huge amount of work to
Right.
go from a place of insecurity and reacting to that, you know, having a reactive response every time that person, that group wants to make you jump. You have a
Yes.
Pavlovian response to just do that. So to
Right.
stop that response, to put up the boundaries that keep you healthy is it's an immense amount of work.
Totally. So when they want to rewrite the story, your job is to stay grounded and
Yeah.
not to overreact emotionally to what it is that they're trying to trigger you on. And that's where, emotionally healthy people don't get triggered
Right.
by that baiting that's going on over here. And eventually they'll stop baiting because it's not fun. When you don't take the bite, it stops being fun for them. There are people who need to have that battle happen, you
Yeah,
know?
they get an endorphin rush from it.
Yes.
There's a high from it. And when you're not
Yes.
giving them their fix, they'll look for another way to, and they'll come out. I always teach it's, yeah, they're laying low right now, but they're going to come with a different tactic and a different tactic and
Yes.
a different tactic. They're
Yes.
trying to find the one that you'll take the bait.
Yes.
And when they
And
keep getting boundaries and no thank yous and no nothing else, it
right.
stymies them, and they end up losing their ability to get their fix from you. But
Yes. So
that's what
this is what
healthy boundaries are.
it is. So this is the conversation. And so I start with let's talk about you, who you are, why you're here, how do we get you grounded, all that kind of stuff. Then we're going to talk about your support system. Who is there that you can go to for wisdom, somebody that can help you stay humble in the situation, and somebody that can help you self regulate and control your emotions. So it's, you know, and nine times out of 10, it's like, no, 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 no. I'm here to have the fight. I want to have the fight. They're just coming at me. They're coming. Yes. Okay. We're going to just ignore that
Hmm.
for the first three sessions. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to ignore that for a while. You need to just ignore that. It makes people insane. But what that also tells me as the person trying to help them is how much they're part of the problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's not a conscious part of the problem.
Oh,
It's just the reactive,
yes.
really codependent part of soothing
Habitual.
the
Yes.
emotions of the other person
Codependence. You named it.
or the group. I mean, it's just there is no difference between a two-person relationship or a high control religion. It's the same dynamic.
1000%.
Yeah.
1000%. And so again, I go back to my own personal experience in my own life because that's really all I can draw from. And so when I think about people who do come to me who are in the two by twos in a very traumatic situation or domestic violence situation, or their children are being abused, but they go to meetings still, and I get a lot of that. And I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't true. But here's the thing. Here's what you and I know. We This is why a lot of people say, "Well, why are you doing that? It sounds like you're just beating your head against the wall." And doesn't it hurt eventually? Here's what I know for sure. I'm only going to speak for myself. The day came in my life that I was no longer going to tolerate the abuse from my abuser. And when that day came, I needed to know that I had people I could reach out to that would have resources for me, would be able to help me and redirect me very quickly. Because I'm here to tell you, when someone finally gets to the point of being ready to make a shift, they need resources instantly, not
Oh, yeah.
like when. So that's what we're trying to do here is to build a community that is going to be a support system for people who want to change their lives in the future
Yes.
and to
And
help
there's,
those that have navigate life.
yeah, and your point is so spot on about the support system. People without a support system almost never leave. It's
Boom.
it's incomprehensible that they could, that they have the ability, the right, the means to do it. And
Yes.
that goes for the same in the group. It's
Yes.
a support system can make all the difference.
Yeah.
You have to have that person that'll talk you off the wall, off the ledge again,
Yes.
and
Totally.
talk you down from the text you got, the conversation that came at you that you're trying not to react to, but maybe learn to respond to or not respond to.
Yes. Yes. So when we value peace, which that's the first question that I ask people, what is your goal here? Are you wanting peace or are you wanting resolution? Because those are probably two very different things.
Yeah, yeah. Peace, a resolution is something you will not get. If you're
No.
in any kind of abusive situation, emotional, physical, spiritual,
Right.
sexual, anything, there is usually not resolution.
Right.
In
And
extreme
so I
cases,
guess,
there might be prison or something, but
yeah,
there is not resolution because that person in their own mind is right and you are
correct.
wrong and their story is right. So
Yes.
you do, relationships can end and they can end nicely when
Mhm.
two people are healthy.
When they're
When
healthy.
one isn't, there will not be resolution. And
No.
again, no difference in high control. There's
Right.
not going to be resolution. You have to
Correct.
make peace for yourself and in your own space with your own support group
Yes.
and let the others be where they're at.
And this goes back to the thing that we say all the time. We are responsible to people, not for them.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. I There is a big difference between peace and resolution. People want closure or they want it's like that is not the same conversation as if you want peace in your life and you want to move forward with your life and you want to get skills to help you move forward. That is not the same as staying in this war
Yeah.
that's going on over here. Peace looks a lot like living consistently in your own values and in your own lane.
That's all it is. It's really simple.
It
It's really
really
simple
is.
conceptually, really difficult to learn.
Amen.
Yeah, because
Say that again because you just nailed it.
it's really easy conceptually, but really difficult to learn. It's
Yes, it is. And here's the thing, I use my own example again. There are people in my life that I no longer have connection with.
Mhm.
And you want to know why? Because I chose peace. I realized that that battle was going to go on till the day I die because they think they're right. They believe they're right with everything they have. So I had to choose peace
Yes.
over reconciliation or resolution because I had to face the reality that they are not going to change. I can tell you this, Steve. If they do ever change and they do realize that they're wrong, I will be the first one to run to them and the first one with open my arms and with love, but I will not sacrifice my peace or my health or my
Mhm.
life
100%.
to be a part, a villain in their story.
Yeah, I've noticed through my own life and others around me that the more you grow emotionally, the more the people in your life change.
Yes.
And there's those that drop away. Often they become uncomfortable around you
Yes.
because that's just not the vibration they live at. They can't handle that.
Right.
And I've noticed, and there's often people that have been in your life that now when you're around them, you feel odd around them. You feel something odd from them. And it's often the fact that it goes to whether they're congruent or not in their words and actions. And
Mhm.
and when your words and actions match, you're congruent. That creates integrity. And you tend to start looking for, even subconsciously, people of integrity in your life. Because a lot of these, like the overseers, there's nothing congruent about their words and actions. They say one thing, they do another. But you'll find that in personal relationships too, that there's words and then there's actions. And
Yes.
those are things to start looking for and feeling, paying attention to. And that's where you start seeing some of these different perspectives and stories.
100%. And if you are surrounded by people that are enabling you and are not being honest with you, that's not healthy. If you are in a situation where everybody's, oh, you're always the bad, or you're always the do everything right. And I'm here to tell you, I am so lucky that I have great friends that literally are like, Crystal, shut up. Crystal, tone it down. Crystal, back it off. Crystal, you're flat out wrong in this situation. Okay. You know what? I trust them. I know they have my best interests at heart. I love them. I
Mhm.
if I did not have those people in my life, I would not be growing. I could not do this work.
And those are people of integrity in your life.
100%.
And you feel it. Those are the people we want in our life.
Yes.
But
Yes,
it's not
I
something we grew up with. We just didn't have that
know.
experience. Everybody was superficial and things weren't talked about and things weren't clear, and there's insinuations and side conversations, and there's no integrity in any of that.
Right.
Speak your truth and match it with your actions, then you have integrity.
Totally. And it's in the little things though too. It's not just the big things, it's the little things. I
Yes.
had a friend call me the other day. She's like, I was cleaning out my son's room and I found this little tin of Zin, which is like instead of chewing tobacco, they chew Zin, I guess. She's like, so I thought, what is this all about? So I just put one in my mouth and thought, I'll see how that goes. So she's calling me to just say, I am the dumbest person on the planet. I didn't know if I was dancing on the table or if I wanted to go to bed. But it was, you know what? The reality of that, like, there's a time in my relationship with this person that she would never have told a soul what she did. She would
Hmm.
have shamed herself and told herself what a stupid person. Now she can call and say, we can laugh about it. It's real. It's so meaningful. I literally laughed all day over it because it was so funny. And then she just kept going on about, what the fallout was of this. And it was just hilarious. I was like, you got to make a stand up routine of this. But, like, just that's what I think we came out of. You're supposed to be perfect all the time, and you never make a mistake, and you never do something stupid, and you never, and if you do, you sure don't tell anybody about it. You
You
don't
hide
air
behind.
your dirty laundry, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Steve, I'm so grateful for my friends and people that just are real and normal. And none of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. Perfection
No.
is a myth.
And I
Okay.
think one of the greatest things we can do to build integrity in ourselves is to tell on ourselves like she did. It can be amusing, it can be funny, it can be embarrassing, it can be cringy. We all
Yes.
do stupid things. We all say things we wish we wouldn't have said,
Right.
and just own it. Say, you know what I just did. You know what I
Yeah.
just told somebody. There's it's it's not, and at first it's hard to do,
Yes.
but
But what I'm
it
leading,
makes you real and it builds integrity.
it does. So this is the main point that I wanted to leave people with today. If you are in a situation where somebody's making you the villain in their story, the best advice I have for you is to become a hero in your own. And that's what my friend did to me. She's a freaking hero, man. To be able to laugh at herself and to do the work and to heal enough that she can be that person to literally tell me and let me laugh right along with her. That is called being the hero in your story. And all the other shit that other people are doing or saying about you doesn't even matter when you
But
are that solid in your own life. That's
Because
the goal.
what they think about you is only a perspective.
Yes.
They really don't know you. But
No.
we tend to take those outside influences as truth and take them and make them our own story.
Yeah.
But when you can make your own story your own, make yourself the hero of your own story, live life how you need to live life and own it
Yes.
authentically, it's such a difference.
It
It's
is.
amazing to live.
It is. I want to acknowledge a couple comments out here. Patty Renfro saying, I have a circle around me who I let in, and it is on me. No chaos, no drama allowed. Love it.
No, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Uh, it is. There's just, you have a choice. This is the thing that I don't think people realize. This is another thing I would like to leave anybody that's watching this now or later with. You have so much more personal agency than you think that you do or that you realize that you do. And when you start to build that and start to understand exactly what you said starting out this conversation, no is a complete sentence. You have the ability to do that and say that and stand on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say often we want to correct somebody else's story when we're the villain, but there's really no need to. It's just their story. And yeah, it can be painful at times. It can poke, but it
It,
is just their story. Whether it's the
it
overseers or a partner or a family member, it's just their view. It's just their story. Don't let it mean anything about you because it truly doesn't. That's just their thought, their opinion, their story. From their perspective, have
correct.
your own about yourself.
And this is the mean side of me sometimes. I always say, and karma's a bitch.
Yeah,
You know, let him. It's part of the whole let them theory. Like, you're responsible to them, not for them. I am responsible to everyone and anybody in my life or that watches a show or anything, in any way that I represent myself. I am responsible to come with integrity, with an open heart, to have loving intentions, to have good. And if you don't want to receive that or you don't want to be a part of that or whatever, I'm not going to change when I know that that's how I'm coming in. And I think that responsibility is, again, be the hero of your own story. That's all I'm really trying to say.
true. Because at the end of the day, your peace doesn't come from anyone believing the same versions of you that you have. It just doesn't come from there. It comes from you believing the version of you.
Yes. Yes. So that whole scapegoating thing and the whole, literally, this is, I'll go back to the example of the 2x2 church. Instead of saying, what is wrong with our system? They say, who can we blame?
Yeah. What is wrong with you? You left. You're bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of taking accountability, they've created an enemy. And that's the same. We are literally having the same conversation, like you've already said 15 times, no matter if it's in a group situation, a marriage, a job, a friendship, a family dynamic, any of it. It's all, at the end of the day, the exact same.
Yeah. I think the goal is not to live somebody else's story, but live a story that you can be proud of
Right.
and ram the torpedoes.
Right. This is what I wanted to say on breaking the cycle. How do we refuse to participate? You and I've already talked about gossip, so stop gossiping. Otherwise, you're part of the problem. Number two, verify before believing. Again, that whole
Mhm.
process of asking questions, you know, kind of important. Stay curious. We've talked about that 100 times. Listen to more than one perspective. Separate facts from assumptions. Big difference. Refuse to dehumanize people. Hold space for complexity. And remember that disagreement is not always betrayal.
Yep. And what is my perspective? What is my truth?
Yeah.
Because we came from a system that we didn't have our own perspective and our own truth. We
Right.
had groupthink. So
Yes.
what is really important to me? Who am I at my authentic self? What are my
Right.
standards? What are my values? What do I believe?
Yes.
And live your story from that space, not from others' perceptions.
Yes. Yes. And when you do call somebody like me and want to work, or somebody like you want to work with us, and we say, okay, well, let's talk about you and your values and what you want and where you're at and what's going on with you. And you say, that's not why I'm here. Let's just get that right out of the way. Save yourself one whole session right there.
Yeah, because I talk a lot about it.
I
This
do
is about
too.
you, nobody else.
Right. Yes.
They're doing whatever they're doing, but this is about you
Yes.
because
We're going to talk about,
we can't change
yeah,
them. They're not here in the room.
nope. And it's easier said than done. And it is a hard truth. This is not an easy truth. It's so difficult to just accept that, darn it, you got to just let them.
Yeah,
You got to let them. I'm at the point, I have been at the point, let the overseers do what they're going to do. That doesn't mean I'm not going to stop calling for accountability or whatever, and point out whatever we possibly can on what is absolutely wrong. Allowing perpetrators back in meeting is the dumbest thing on the planet Earth. That is a fact. That is not my emotions. That is a freaking fact. That is ridiculous beyond belief. And they will, I have faith that their day in court will come and they will sit behind bars for it. But
I agree.
that's a whole nother conversation. Any questions? Does anybody have any questions out there for us? Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up again already, man. We just got started, Steve. Can't we
Flies
talk
by,
another
doesn't
hour?
it?
Let's just talk another hour, okay?
Easily.
I'm down. So, yeah, does anybody have any questions or any thoughts that you guys want to add to this conversation? Because my final thoughts on that, but I'll say mine and then I'm going to give last word to you. The moment a community requires a villain in order to preserve its identity, it has stopped pursuing truth.
Yeah.
That is for sure, because truth can withstand questions, and only fragile systems require a scapegoat.
Yep.
That's my final word. What's
Final
yours?
note I wrote was sometimes we're cast as a villain simply because we set a boundary, disappointed an expectation, or made a choice that somebody else couldn't understand. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to be the villain.
Yes.
It's actually many times in relationships like we've been talking about healthy.
Yes.
Be the villain. It's okay. In my own story, I'm the hero.
You know what
Be
I say
okay
a
being
lot?
the villain.
If you're not pissing anybody off, you're probably not doing any good.
Yep.
But I mean, that's just again back to me being a bitch sometimes. So I'm really not though. I have so much love in my heart.
It's easy to
Okay.
be perceived that way when you're living your truth because
True.
living our truth
That's
doesn't
true.
always go along with status quo. And
I make
then,
fun of it. Yeah.
yeah, then we can get, people can get that label or, yeah, it's fun to make fun of it instead. Just,
I just make fun of it because I know that I'm really not.
yeah, same.
All right, everybody. This has been fun. I could go on and on, but we won't. But I will say, overseer's back office, Cynthia. Okay? She's not the one to blame here. You are.
I don't think she cares.
She doesn't care.
She
She doesn't.
knows.
I know. We all know, but you know what? It's just like own it.
Yeah.
Own the fact that you are literally putting perps in meeting beside children and not telling anybody about it. Okay? You
I
are the
think
villain.
actually creating a villain says more about them than it does about her. And often when we're created as a villain, it's really a reflection on
Yes.
who's creating that story.
Amen to that.
So
That's
that's worth paying attention to as well.
totally. All
Makes
right,
you feel
everybody.
something right, and they don't like it.
Love all around. Have an awesome afternoon.